Year to everybody. It's Bill Bing's Trumpet Talk. I haven't been posting any videos for a while, so one of my New Year's resolutions is to try to get more videos up this year. One of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is a new recording that's out, and this is something that I think everybody should have in their library, the Gabrielli CD National Brass Ensemble, that has some of the greatest players of our time performing on this CD. So please check it out. Again, it's the Gabrielli, it's called, is the name of the CD with the National Brass Ensemble. It has some absolutely fabulous brass playing, a great recording, and it's one of those must-haves. So check it out. You can probably get some samples on iTunes, and it might even be on Spotify. I haven't checked that out yet. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, I guess this video could be called Connecting the Dots. And what I want to talk about in this video is exactly that. How do you connect the dots between your own playing and what available resources are out there? And then how do you have that made manifest in your routine and in your playing, those different kinds of factors. So I guess, you know, we could start with this Gabrielli, this recording, which is, I'll plug it again, because you listen to that and you hear some of this great playing, and you wonder, okay, now how can I sound like that? Well, you can play well, maybe not as well as some of these people, but you can play well and enjoy the process and enjoy the performances. And what you have to do really is connect the dots. All right, now I'll go ahead with my explanation of what I mean when I say you've got to connect the dots. So you first of all have a concept of how you want to play, and that you get by listening to other great players and getting feedback from your teachers. How can I play better? But it also has to be coming from yourself. What do I need to improve on? And you have to be really honest with yourself. I've had students come in and I've said, well, what do you want to work on? And I say, what are your weak points? And they'll say, well, my double and triple tonguing. And I'll ask them to play something, and it might not be the double and triple tonguing that is really what they need to work on. So maybe they're aware of what they need to work on, but in any case, you have to figure out what are the points that I need to work on. And in many, let's take an example. Let's take something like endurance. All right, so that's a factor for many of us, endurance. So what you have to do is you get resources. You have so many wonderful resources, and what I'm thinking about endurance in this case would be something like James Morrison. You could go on the internet, on YouTube, and listen to some of his videos about endurance, upper register, range, those types of things. There's no shortage of great videos out there, but that's the one I'm thinking of in particular. And so once you've got some indication, all right, one of the things he talks about is using less pressure, right? And so then you've got to connect that dot with your aspect of how do I want to play, what do I need to work on. Maybe it's endurance, going to find somebody like James Morrison who gives you some tips on how to play better, and then find some other resources. And another great resource, which I don't think I talked about before, which is one of my go-to resources, is The Art of Brass Playing by Philip Farkas. And to me, this is probably the best resource on explanation of how you want your chops to work. The book, the first 28 pages of it is a great resource, and it has things like this, you know, this that I talked about before. If you look, you'll see that shape that he outlines that you want your chops to form when you're playing correctly. That's one of the pages that he has here. Then let's say we'll flip the page and we'll see a picture of the muscles, all the different muscles in the face. That's not as important. It's important, obviously, to be able to define those muscles that are involved in playing, but more importantly than what's underneath, is because you can't see that so easily, would be what you can see by looking in a mirror while you play. talks about the embouchure's function. And then a fun thing in the middle of the book is this, where he has pictures of the players in the Chicago Symphony at the time. There's Adolf Herseth playing, and I believe that's Chikowitz, Frank Katarabek, and then the last picture is Chikowitz. Sorry, so it's Herseth, Rudy Nason, and Frank Katarabek and Vincent Chikowitz. So pictures of their embouchures. Here's Chikowitz, the great player and teacher. I think his looks the best. He really looks great. There's Frank Katarabek, one of my teachers and a great player, played principal with Philadelphia for many years. And then there's Herseth. And so you get an idea of, okay, this is how they play. Each one has a little bit of a different embouchure. And so you realize, okay, there's not one magic embouchure that you have to have in order to play great. So that's kind of consoling, isn't it? Because we know that maybe we don't have the perfect embouchure that looks like Frank Katarabek. Maybe we have an embouchure that looks like Herseth. That would be okay. Okay, so we're connecting the dots. We've gone from figuring out what we need to work on to listening to somebody like James Morrison talk about endurance, to finding another resource about the art of brass playing, and finding out all those different things from different resources, connecting those dots and applying it to your trumpet. Okay, so let's say I need to use less pressure when I practice. I've talked about this in previous videos, and one of my videos has a great player, young player, Javier Gonzalez. It's the most popular video on my series with over 10,000 views. And he talks about this process where he combines Bill Adams's opening warm-up, where you and I only had one lesson with Bill Adams, so I can't consider myself a Bill Adams student. But if you want to learn more about Bill Adams in the LA area, there's some great players that have studied with Jerry Hay, Charlie Davis, Larry Hall are the three that come to mind right away. But you can go on the internet and find more about Bill Adams and his approach. But Javier Gonzalez just starts off that way. And what I've done then, and what Javier did before I did it, is to do more playing. And what I do next, in order to get used to playing on the mouthpiece with a tuning slide out, obviously I can get those pitches because the tuning slide is out just for the lips alone. I'm just pressing the valves so that I know when to move the air. And then what Javier does, it's easier to go down, but it's hard to go up. In order to do that more successfully than I do it, you have to use less pressure. But the only way that I can even come close is to pull the pressure away from my lips. So already I'm beginning to learn how to use less pressure when I'm playing by using that little exercise that Javier came up with. And prior to that, many years ago, I came up with a system whereby you get a half buzzing sound and a half playing sound. So it would be something more like that's really not so easy to explain, and I do have other videos out that are better illustrated. So better illustrate that point. But the idea is to get a 50-50 sound. Not, but somewhere in between. In any case, maybe you'll come up with some of your own ideas on how to make it better, to use less pressure. But I'm connecting the dots here in a way that will help me to play better by using less pressure. So no matter what you'd like to work on, maybe you can think about connecting the dots in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve using all the resources we have available to us. So that's enough for today. That's a lot longer than I usually go. So it's a new year.